Okay, so what we view here is a content area that I've created, and this is where we are going to build our activity today. Now, a content area is any area where we can build assessments or content or tools. They are different from tool links, which are link-specific tools on the menu. So for instance, Connect Yard tool link links me to my Connect Yard. A Collaborate tool link links me to the app Collaborate Ultra. So a content area is just a blank space that we create where we can create content and assessments. And we find all of these on our add menu item at the top, and content area for blank spaces where we build content, tool links where we link specific tools. Okay, so that's the difference there. All right, so today we're going to build an activity for students called How to Tie-Dye a T-shirt. Now, it's very silly, I know, but it's best for me to use silly little examples like this because all of our audience is from so many different fields, and this is something everyone can relate to. So we're going to teach our hypothetical student group today how to tie-dye a T-shirt. All right, so first what I'm going to do for my activity, this is going to be staggered. In other words, there's going to be one item, then the next item, then the next item. And as the student goes through it, I will put certain releases in to make sure that the next item releases based on a set of rules that I decide. So first we're going to build it and then we're going to release it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put in an item with the outcomes of this lesson. So we're going to call this lesson 1, outcomes. Now you may call this module, unit, whatever the case may be, chapters. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to give it a nice bright color, seeing as we're tie-dyeing T-shirts today. And then I'm going to put in my outcomes here. Now, whenever I write outcomes, I use the ABC method. And when I say that, I mean A is the antecedent. Oh, sorry, I'm not typing very well today. Antecedent. B is the behavior. And C is the criterion. And this is a very solid way, I don't know really what the correct word is, for building outcomes, because the antecedent tells the student when it's going to happen, the skills that we're going to learn. The behavior shows them the behavior. So in this case, the behavior is tie-dye a cotton T-shirt. And the criterion is how this new skill will be measured. So we are saying that they will be able to select the correct dyes based on the textile. They will predict color result from mixing different colors. They will don the correct PPE. They will prepare a T-shirt for desired pattern. They will dye the T-shirt, and then they will finally reflect on results. So these are our criterion, and these will also be used to mark or assess or evaluate the resultant assignment that the students load up. Okay, so that's what I mean with I use the ABC method for my outcomes, and these make sure that you align your outcomes with your assessment at the end of the day. So that's why I like to use it. So, all right, I'm just going to tidy this up a little bit. Give those bullets, that didn't work at all. All right, make it a bit larger. I always like using this dark blue. It's easy on the eyes, especially if you read from a phone. I'm going to put in a nice image. Got some images prepared here. There we go. I've got a GIF prepared here that I'm going to put in just to brighten it up. To add any GIF, especially if you're doing it from Giphy, you don't have any copyright infringement issues because this is common creative space. As long as you embed, which I'm going to show you how to do now, it's fine. So I'm going to click share, copy GIF link. And then I'm just going to paste that link in here. And it's going to automatically add the image. All right. I'm going to center it. Let's underline that. Indent. There we go. That looks better. All right. Now we can further go and make sure that the students know how many activities there are. To complete the activity, make sure you check all of the activities, right? To complete this project, let's say that, make sure you check all activities. Sorry, I should have prepped this one. And then finally, we're going to have them review this session. Click on reviewed below to accept. Okay, so that's going to be our first outcome. I'm going to submit that. All right, so now we have our outcomes for the students. They know what they're going to be doing. We have a nice image to brighten up the space, and we have an instruction here to click on the reviewed button below to accept. And we'll add the review button after. So we're first going to build all the activities, and then we're going to stagger them with the adaptive release. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is a good way to start an activity, especially an online activity like this, is to make sure that your students understand the outcomes and what will be expected of them. An easy way to do this is with peer learning. And what we normally do is we have a little discussion in the discussion forum where the students explain to each other what the skills are and how they will learn them. So by explaining something to a peer, you assimilate the information yourself, and that is a quick way to make sure that your students are understanding the outcomes correctly. So I'm going to add a discussion now next to this. So I'm going to go to my discussions. I have a tool link on the menu. If I didn't have one, I could have just gone to course tools and discussion board. I've got a couple of discussion boards here already. I'm just going to go to my main one and create a new forum. I'm going to call this Lesson 1 Tie-Dye. And now we give them a prompt or instructions, and we're going to say, today we are tie-dyeing a cotton t-shirt. Have you ever done anything like this before? Have you ever done? Okay, so we're going to say, you can also add something along the lines of that they have to comment on a peer's, experience, that they have to try and keep the conversation going, or you can just have them share their own experiences, and then they can go and read through the other experiences, depending on what you need from them. So you can be a bit more specific on what exactly it is that you want them to be doing here. Now, under the forum, we can set a couple of settings, for instance, the availability dates. We're not going to do that now. We're going to have this open up based on the review status. So we're not going to do anything with availability dates, but we do have to mark this discussion forum to be able to use it in an adaptive release. This way it will create a column for it in the grade center, and based on columns, we can release certain content. So remember that it has to be a marked discussion forum. So I'm just going to put in 10 here. And you can go in afterwards and mark students' participation in the discussion forum. Like I said, this is automated. You don't necessarily have to be involved during the activity, but you will have to go in afterwards and assimilate marks and evaluate certain things and things like that. But for now, we just put in 10 there. You can add a rubric or anything like that. You can decide when a student has received the needs marking status. For instance, if they just have one post, so they only have to participate once, so maybe just sharing their own experience, then they will get into the column. Or maybe they have to share their own experience and reply to one person's, then we can change it to 2. I'm going to leave it on 1. You can add a due date here, so it goes onto their calendars. And then we have a couple of settings, and these things really do, it depends on your discretion what you want to choose here or not. For instance, I don't mind allowing authors to delete their own posts because, we make mistakes, typos or things like that. I don't mind that they can edit their posts afterwards if they need to go and change something or add something. I also like to have them rate and tag their posts because they like it. They like rating each other's posts and things, but you can go and choose your options as need be. The only thing that is a must is it must be marked for this to work. So remember that. I'm going to submit my discussion forum. There it is. I can just leave it here in the discussion board. I'm going to go back to my learning unit. Okay, so here is my first. Now I'm going to add a tool discussion board. I'm not going to create a new one. I'm going to select an already existing one, the one that I created just now, lesson 1 tie-dye. And now we can give it a new name. So I'm going to call this now, and this is only the name it's going to have within the learning unit. Its name is going to stay lesson 1 tie-dye in the discussion board. So I'm just calling it now something fun. And then I'm going to repeat the instructions that I had earlier. Let me just go and copy them so you don't have to sit through my very bad typing again. Okay, so this is going to be the prompt for our students to start the discussion. And we have stated it so that we make sure that they share skills that they've learned before, how they learn new skills, and if they've ever done anything like this before. So we're basically drawing on past experience. Okay, again, you can do the availability and tracking and so on. We're not going to bother with that just now. So this is going to be our next step. So step 2 is in the bag. We have on our outcomes here. So now we know that they are going to work through the outcomes with their fellow students and hopefully then assimilate what it is that they're going to be doing. So let's start on the outcomes. First one we have here is selecting the correct dyes based on the textile, and the second one is predicting color result from mixing different color dyes. Now these are two perfect outcomes or criterions for a little quiz. So I'm going to use 2 quizzes to do these, and then we're going to do 1 final assignment for the rest and a journal at the end for a reflection. So let's start with a little quiz, which is a test. So I'm going to start with selecting the color dyes based on textile. I'm going to create a new test, and I'm going to call this dyes test. Now, what I'm going to do is just to make it a bit more interesting is I'm going to add a QR code to the document that I want them to read. So I've got an article open here, and all the information they need to complete this assessment is in this article on dyeing and printing on textile. It goes through the types of dyes, what application classes you have, etc., etc. So I want this to be what they read, but I don't want to just put in the, because what you can do is you can just put in the link like so, and it will give you a little link like that, and that's perfect. That's fine. I just also want to show you how to create a QR code today, because I know that a lot of you would like to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a new tab, and I'm just going to put in QR generator. And there are a bunch of free ones, but I like to use this one that's always at the very top. That's just called QR code generator. And it's easy to use and it's very simple. So all we do is we paste in that URL that we have just copied. Okay. And then it creates or generates a new QR code for us that we can download. Come on. It worked just now. I don't want to use my own colors. There we go. Okay. I thought it's basically trying to get you to sign up by making you confused. It almost worked just now. But there we go. It did download in the end. All right. So there is our QR code. So I'm going to go back, add image. All right, I forgot about this step. Because it's in a test, we have to first add our QR code to files. I have a video on this in the YouTube channel. So if you ever want to add a QR code, it shows you all of these steps. So I'm first going to upload that file that I've just downloaded. Let me just go and grab it to my content collection. So now when I go back to my test, okay, so now I'll also insert that QR code. So I'm going to go to content collection. It was called frame, so it should be early pages. Apparently I have a lot of documents. There we go. Frame. And there is the QR code. Okay, so now we can say, read the above article and answer the following questions. So this is an open book test. If you're interested in open book tests, I have quite a lot of articles on them for creating really good open book tests based on your students' taxonomy levels. But remember that open book tests should be about, applied skills and not just ticking boxes. Now, for this example, we're going to just tick boxes, but this is just to go quicker. All right, so I've got my description. I'm going to leave on the instructions. Submit. And now we're going to add some quick questions. Don't worry, I've got them all typed out, so it's going to go quick. I'm going to first have a multiple answer. Okay, so I'm asking cotton falls under the following textile fiber class, and I'm going to have 1, 2, 3. Got 3. Okay, I'll just delete one. Natural, modified cellulose, and synthetic. I'm going to skip 4. It'll tell me later that I've skipped it. And the correct answer is natural. Cotton is natural fiber. Okay, I'm going to submit here. Okay, there's my question. That's going to be worth 1. Okay, next question is also going to be a multiple answer. Come on. Always does this when I'm doing training. Never does it when I'm just sitting here on my own. Okay. Question text. This time they're going to select 3 dyes that cannot be used. So let's put that in caps. Not be used on cotton. Okay. I'm going to have 5 this time. And they're going to be acid. Just out of interest sake, I have no clue what I'm talking about. I've never dyed anything in my life. Just goes to show what you can find on the internet. Pigment. Oops, sorry, there were 6. I've got 6. Okay, and the correct answers are, I can't remember. Okay, pigment, mordant, disperse. Okay, so we need mordant, pigment, and disperse. Those are the 3 correct answers. Okay, that's another question in the bag. And now the next question we're going to ask, it's just a multiple choice. This is the last question. Choose the correct definition. Here are the 4 variables they can choose from. And this final one is the correct one. So I'm going to check its box and submit. And let's say total points 14. So let's make this one 1. So it's a total points of 5. That'll work. Okay, that's our test. We're going to select the options. Remember, I have a video on this as well on the YouTube channel, how to select your test options if you're interested in reading more about that. For now, we're just going to say we're going to make it available. I'm not going to put any too strict things on this because we're going to release it with the adaptive release later on. I'm not going to put anything like that. All I'm going to say is 1 at a time so that they can keep that open. And we can check all of these. All right, submit. Okay, there's my little test. Now we're going to do our next little test, which is going to be the color mixing. And this time we're going to put in this ink chart. That is going to be their reference. Let's make it a little bit bigger so that they have it. I'm going to center it as well. And then I'm also going to add the article that goes with it for them to read. Use the above, sorry, you can't see that. Use the above and answer the following. Okay. Now let's do some hotspot questions. I'm only going to add 2 of these, otherwise we're going to be here forever. So I'm just going to use my snipping tool. So if you don't know what a snipping tool looks like, it's this one. You can find it anywhere on your computer. Just searching in the Windows box will do. So I just want to snip the, oops, don't know what I did there. I just want to snip the parts that doesn't have the answers in. So I'm just going to snip this bit, and this is going to become my answers for hotspot questions. I'm just going to quickly save that on my desktop. Okay, right. So I'm going to say, create a hotspot question. I just want to open up my ink chart. Let's say what happens if we mix primary yellow with ultramarine, and that's going to be that gray there, primary yellow and ultramarine. Select the color you will get if you mix primary yellow and ultramarine. Now we're going to upload that file. Sorry, my desktop is very cluttered. I'm not good at keeping it clean. There we go. That's the file. Next. Okay, now let's just make double sure again. Ultramarine, primary yellow is this square here. So the student needs to select this square to have the correct answer. Now, suppose we have many of these, you know, and you have different answers, but I'm just going to do one for today. Otherwise, we're going to be here for a long time, but you get the gist. So I'm just going to have that as one single question, and let's have it count 10 marks. That's perfect. All right. Same procedure for the settings. We're just going to open it up, make it available. And we're just going to have one attempt, but you can have multiple attempts if you need. And you can look at the timing and all of that, but we're just going to do that, make it one at a time, and we can check all these so that the students can see the answers that they submitted. And submit. All right, so that's our test. So now we've covered selecting color dyes and predicting color results. Now, donning the correct personal protective equipment and preparing the t-shirt for design, dyeing the t-shirt, these 3 are going to be all in one big assignment. And this assignment is going to be them taking a video of themselves doing, dyeing the t-shirt or going through all the steps, documenting every step. So this is very important. They're going to have to document every step, kind of keep like a journal and things like that. And they're going to upload back the video it's going to be any little video they take on their cell phones. So I've got a video here from YouTube that shows you exactly how to do this. You can add further articles or notes from their books or whatever the case may be. Wherever you find your content that you deliver to students, can be your own presentations that you make up, your own videos that you make up. I've just got something here from YouTube. So what I'm going to do now is put in an assignment, and this is going to be the main assignment. I'm just going to call it getting to it. And then I'm going to say, create a video of you tie-dyeing your own cotton t-shirt. Document. Now we're going to tell them what to document. Now remember, in the outcomes we said PPE, so document your PPE selection. So they need to show what they document, putting on their gloves and why they're wearing gloves, etc. Mixing inks, prepping t-shirts. So that's that bit where they're going to tie it up with string and things. Dyeing and results. Okay, so now they know exactly what they need to do. I can also add here, wait, watch the below for instructions. Now, YouTube is a cornucopia of instructional videos. You can find absolutely anything on there. And again, it's Creative Commons, so you're free to use it in the education sector as long as you embed it in your content. And with embedding it, I mean, like we did now, I just copied and pasted the link, but this still links back to YouTube. So in other words, when the student opens it, it still links back to the original creator, and it gets them their likes and their, you know, their views and things and what they want and why they create content. So as long as you link it back to them and not claim it as your own, it's perfectly fine to use YouTube videos in your teaching and learning material. And really, you can find anything on there. I mean, anything. Okay, so this is going to be the assignment. We're going to say this is worth 50. This is the big one. You can go and have a look at the submission details if you have a text base rather than we're going to upload a video. So if you have a text base, something that you're going to upload, you can check it for plagiarism, etc. You can give them multiple attempts, all of those things, display of marks and so on. We're going to make it available. We're going to leave it as that. We're not going to limit the availability here because remember, we're going to use the adaptive release. So there's my assignment. Great. All right. So I'm almost at the end. Thank you for sticking with me up until now. We almost have this activity down. Now we just have to do that last criterion, which is reflecting on the results. Reflecting on results at the end of an activity, even if it's a really small activity like this one, or something that you just use for them to keep them busy, it is really important to reflect on the results. And when we reflect on an activity like this, remember that we use the action, reaction, reflection steps. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to use a journal. And to use the journals, we're going to go through the same procedures with the discussions. I'm going to create a new journal. I'm going to call this one T-shirt. The instructions is upload an image of your final T-shirt and reflect on the results. Oy. I really have to go for a typing course. Okay, and it reflects on the results. Use the action, reaction, reflection method. Now, what this means is, and you can explain it to your students nicely when you give them the assignment or at the beginning of the year, if you do reflections regularly, is meaning that they first write up their actions. I did this and this and this, put on my gloves, got a t-shirt. I bought the t-shirt from Mr. Price for 20 Rand, la la. So all of their actions, they just list them, just verbatim, whatever they did. Then the reaction that they got, not their reaction, the reaction that happened from their action. So in other words, when I mixed the yellow and green ink, I got a really ugly, you know, vomit color instead of the color that I thought I was going to get, da, 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 da. So they literally just list everything that happened next to the actions. Then they reflect on it. How did that make them feel? How did they feel about the result? What did they think they could do better? What did they do well, etc., etc. Okay, so that's a very quick and dirty way of doing reflections, but it's really, really effective because it makes your students go through the whole process of learning the activity, and it just makes them reflect on how they learn, so that next time when they have an activity that is similar, they can maybe approach it better, especially for your students who have time keeping issues. This is a really great way of, you know, letting them realize where they've gone wrong. Okay, so I'm just going to make the journal available. Now, again, as with the discussion, for us to be able to release this, we need to have marks in here. So I'm just going to put in 10. And again, you can put in a due date and all that. Submit. Right, there's my journal. So I'm going to go back to my learning unit, tools, link a journal, link to a journal, t-shirt journal. And I'm going to put in the exact same instructions, but this time I'm going to add a nice image. Maybe it's an image of me as the lecturer, you know, with my result, or just an example of what you're looking for. So let's pretend that's me. So this is just an image that is similar to the one that I want them to upload. Okay. And submit. Right, so these are all of the activities, but there's one final step that we have to do. And this is very, very important. We need to add something at the end that pops up when the student is done to make sure that they understand that they are now done. And what I mean with this is if they go through the activity. So this is going to open at a specific time. And then when they review, this is going to open. When they finish with this, this is going to open. And then when they finish with this, this is going to open, etc., etc. Now, when they're done with this one and nothing opens, they're not sure if it's a technological glitch or if they are actually done. So it's very, very important to put something in at the end that shows them, all righty, you are done. Everything has gone as they should. And I love GIFs. So I always do it with a GIF. So I'm going to take this, that's all folks GIF, and I'm going to put it there at the end. And in the name, I'm going to put you're all done and just put in my little GIF. Let's center it. And that is just going to show them that they are done and that it's not something that's not opening up as it should. Okay. Okay, great. So we have an activity. Now let's release it the way we want to release it. I'm going to release the first one based on. All right, so I just see that some people are asking for attendance. All right, so I'm just going to put in the attendance again in the chats for those of you who came a little bit late and missed it. So make sure that you complete the attendance. And don't worry, I did record the session from the beginning, so you will be able to watch back on that first bit that you missed. Okay. All right, so now we're going to release this first one based on time. I'm going to do this last, only because I want to release it a minute after I've ended so that we don't have to wait too long for the whole process to start. But normally you would do this first and you would release this like something like tomorrow at 8 a.m. this opens. And that's the first step in the whole process. But for now, I'm just going to leave it till last. The next thing that we have to release is the discussion where they talk about DIE. But now remember, we said that they're going to click a review button to say that they have read their outcomes. So I'm going to say, adaptive release. Sorry, just needed a sip of water. And then I'm going to go down to the review status. Now, this is something I get quite often when people use adaptive release. They sometimes think that they have to fill in all four. This is actually more of an either or situation. You can use 1, 2, 3, or all four of them, but you don't have to use all four of them. So you can release something based purely on the review status, nothing else. And that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to say that I want students to see this only once they've reviewed the following. It's going to open up and I want it to review the lesson 1 outcomes. Okay, so it's going to review lesson 1 and then this item is going to open up. And now you can see that for that item, there will be a little review button if I go to student mode. You'll see that now it has a little review button and you can see that my discussion isn't here until I click the review button. Right, so step 1 is going well. Okay, next thing. Now I want to release the tests. And it's easy to release tests if we have something before it that has a grade center column. That's why I said we need to give the discussions and journals and things like that marks so that it creates a new column. Okay, so I'm going to release this one, adaptive release. And this time I'm going to say that the student needs to go to discussion lesson 1 tie-dye. I'm not going to add a mark to this one because I only want them to have 1 attempt at it. In other words, they have to open the discussion forum and go and participate. Just 1 attempt. okay? Because we don't want to go in and have to mark those discussions immediately, because this is an automated activity. We want this to be able to go on without our input. So we're just going to say user has at least one item for this, one attempt for this, and then submit. All right, so I'm going to go to my second test now, color mixing, and I'm going to release this again on a column, but a little bit differently. So adaptive release, but this time I'm going to say the previous test, which was the dies. Okay, I'm not going to say just one attempt. I'm going to say this student needs to score a percentage of 50% or greater, meaning that they need to score 50 or above. So if they do not pass the dice test, they cannot open the color test. Okay, we can also do it with score, but I can't remember what the score is. Oh, 5. So I would have to put in 2.5. No, just leave it as percentage. You can also do it as less than. I can't remember. I can't imagine when you would want to use that, or equal to, but we're going to use greater than or equal to. So anything above 50% will open up the color test. So they need to score at least 50% on this test to open the next one. All right, submit. Now we have to open up the assignment. And we're going to open up the same way as the previous one. We're going to say adaptive release. The student needs to have, for the color mixing test, greater than or equal 50%. And then finally, we have to release the journal, adaptive release. This time we're going to say the assignment, let's get to it. Where is it? Getting to it. There we go. And we're going to leave it again as user attempt, one attempt. So as soon as they upload their assignment, the journal will open again, because you have to go and mark the assignment. So we don't want to put a percentage on that, because we want this to be automated, and you can go in whenever later to assess or evaluate your assignments, but you want the flow to keep going while the student is busy. So we're just going to use at least one attempt. And then the final one is our it's all done. So again, we're just going to use adaptive release, and the same one, but this time for the journal t-shirt, user has to have at least one attempt. Okay, now just a quick note on adaptive release, because I went through them now and we only used 2 of them, but you can release things based on date, and we're going to do this now. But you can also release based on users. So you can put in here a specific student, their student number. You can put in more than one. You just have to separate them with a comma, and then you can submit, and then only those students will see the content. That's not what we want to do today, but that it does happen if you have assignments that are only for certain groups. You can go and make up your groups beforehand and then release only to them as well. I'm not going to use membership today, because this is something that is for all members in my hypothetical class. So I'm not going to use that at all, but it is available for other types of assignments. And we do have videos on that as well on the YouTube channel, or you can just ask me if you ever are interested in releasing based on membership. Now what I'm going to do, sorry, I just want to open up my emails, because I've closed it because the beep in my ear makes me nuts. What we're going to do now is we're going to start an email that we are going to delay. Now this is my Outlook, and I'm going to send this to myself, but my Gmail account, which is my student. All right, you can put in all of your student emails here, or you can create a contact group beforehand. I'm sure most of you already have a contact group that you can use and just add there. I've just got one student now, and then new activity. See there, the beeps already start. Okay, new activity. All right, so I'm going to say, hi, your new activity is available. Go to eThuto to start now. And then, of course, you will put in some more information here, due dates, things like that. I'm just going to put in this. I like to link, put in a lot of links when I have these activities, just to make navigation easier for students. So I'm going to take this link for this item. And to do that, remember that we have a layover at the moment. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but that is this when this is laid over. So we have a compressed URL at the top. What we want is the full URL, and to get that, we have to open a new tab. So I'm going to go to Learning Unit 1, open link, a new tab, and you'll see now that I don't have the layover anymore, and also I have a full URL. So if you can see the difference between this URL and this URL, the compressed URL, which will just take you to eThuto. It won't take you to this specific learning unit. So remember that if you ever want to link anything, you can't link anything that is laid over. You need to open it up in a new tab first so that it's full screen and has its full original URL. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to add it to my email to make it easier for my students. There we go. Put in your love letters to your students, because I know you all love your students. And then this is going to go out. But now remember, this is an automated. I don't want to send it out right now. I want to send it out at a certain stage. Now, at the moment, for me, it is 12:14. So I'm going to send it at 12:16. And in the same breath, then I'm going to make this available today at 12:16. Now, hopefully, maybe I should have made it 15. Otherwise, no, there's 15 now. Right, good. Okay, so let's go back to our email. Now I'm going to delay the sending of this email. If you haven't done that before, you go up to options. And then those three little dots here. I'm going to say delay delivery. And here I'm going to say do not deliver before today at 12:16. Which is going to be in a minute. Okay. And I'm going to send. Now it's not going to come through till 12:16, and you'll normally see it in your outbox of your email. It won't go to your sent until the time that it's sent. Now I'm just going to open up my Gmail here on the other side so I can keep an eye on it. Okay, so 12:16 just happened. If we go into student mode, we'll see that Learning 1 has opened, and that is the only thing that is open. I'm just going to open up my emails. Right, so I'm just waiting for that email. Sorry, I don't want to put up my Gmail because there are some funny things in there. Right, so it has moved to my sent box, so it has definitely sent out on time. Just refreshing my Gmail. Okay, there we go. Yes. Now I'm going to close all of this. And I'm going to go in as a student. So I'm now clicking on the link that was sent to my Gmail. There we go. It's going to ask me to sign in. This time I'm going to sign in as a student, because I want to show you what it looks like from the student. And it takes me directly to that learning unit because I followed the link. Okay, so that's why I say I kind of like using links because it makes navigating easier for students. Now the student comes in, they see, all right, at the end of this activity, here are my criterions or my outcomes. I know exactly what I need. I need to mark reviewed to say that I accept. Great. Next thing that came up is let's talk about die. That's really weird, but okay. Read my instructions, click on this, create a thread, and I'm going to talk about die. Have I ever done anything like before? Yes, I've painted coffee mugs before, something like that. The best way for me to learn is to watch someone doing it first. Hi. Submit. Okay. I'm going to go back to my learning unit 1. And voila, my first test has opened, because remember we said that they only need to have one attempt for this one. So I'm going to open up my test. Oh, wait, I first need to get that image. Now, normally students will do this with their phones, but just so that you can watch me do it, I'm going to just do it on my PC. So I'm going to open up my QR scanner. You have these on your PC. It's in the Microsoft Store if you don't have them yet. You can either now hold up the scanner or the image from your phone, or just like open a QR code image. And it'll be under my downloads. There we go. Come on, open up. Oh, copy to clipboard. Sorry, I copied the link to clipboard. I thought I copied the thing. So now, just have to close some things here. Now I've got the link. It's been copied to my clipboard. Now your student will normally just do this from their phone. I just did that now on PC, just to show you what it's going to look like. All right, so student has got their article or their content or whatever the case may be. They could have also clicked on this. So there were 2 options for doing this. But, you know, it's fun to do the QR code. And for those of you who are going to start using Invigilator, you will have to do QR codes. Okay, so I've got my information open. I'm going to start my test. Now I have to get 50% for this to open the next one. So hopefully I can remember the answers. All right, cotton is definitely a natural fiber. Moving to answer the question. 3 dyes that cannot be used on cotton. What were they again? Okay. Acid is definitely one. I don't know why I made it more difficult for myself. Disperse. You know what? I think pigment was the other one. There we go. See, I told you I know nothing about clothing or textiles or anything. Choose the correct definition. It was the final one. And then save and submit. There's my results. I got one wrong, but that's okay. No, I don't have the necessary 50%. What was it? Acid? I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to have to just do this again, because now the next thing isn't going to open up. So I'm just quickly going to go in as myself, but my lecturer self, and just give me another attempt. Sorry about that. Not cool. Shouldn't make my test so hard. Well, let's use this as an opportunity. If you ever need to give one student an extra attempt, you can always do it. Just, what it was this test, yeah. Edit the test options. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to give a single student an exception under the availability exceptions. We're going to choose that student, the dumb one, who is also me, and we're going to give that student more attempts. Right, so now the student can go and write the test again. Start new submission. Okay. Wait, was that the correct ones now? I don't want to do this again. Acid is definitely not on this list. Oxidation is pigment disperse. Maybe I set up the question incorrectly. That could happen. Okay, so again, this is me. I actually set that up incorrectly. That's why that's not working. All right, sorry. I promise this is the last time we're going to do this. Luckily, I gave that student a 3rd attempt because I saw that she was a bit dumb. All right, so we're going to choose mordant, which is actually not correct, but let's just keep going. Because we need to get that 50% minimum to be able to move on. Yes, all right, good. We'll be able to see the next test now. Thank goodness. All right, so here the next test has opened. So now the student is going to go into the color mixing test. And do you know what? We never set it up so that it shows the instructions beforehand. That's why I can't see them, and we need them for the answer. So let's go quickly again to the, because I need to see this to be able to answer the questions. I'm just going to say, show the test description to students. Sorry, I'm making all kinds of mistakes now. I hope you can still follow. All right, so I'm going to go into the test, and this time I'll be able to see the description. Good. There's the article that I can have, and now I know where all my colors are, and I can open up that article. I'm going to open it in a new tab, so it's not in my way. Again, and now it's going to ask me, select the color you'll get if you mix primary yellow and ultramarine. So now I can go and see, okay, ultramarine and primary yellow goes to that square. So I'm going to click on that square, save and submit, because there's only one question in this test. All right, got 10 out of 10 the first time. Can you guys believe it? Good. Now the next thing will open, which is the assignment. So here I'm going to have to watch this video. So I'm going to go watch this video on how to do it. And then I'm going to videograph myself doing it, and I'm going to upload that file. Now, I have not created a tie-dye shirt that I have a video of. So I'm just quickly going to use any old little video that I've got here on mine. Just want to use one that's very short. I think this one is quick. So I'm just going to upload a video that I've made for someone this morning. And put in some comments if you want to. Your lecturer if they want to, and submit. It's just going to take a second to upload that video. And there is the video that the student has uploaded. Okay. And now the journal should have opened, and it has. Journal opens, click on that. Now the student has to create a journal entry. Again, we have videos for students on how to create journal entries, how to submit assignments, how to write tests. So everything they need is on their playlist on the YouTube channel. So you don't have to worry about them not knowing how to use any of the technology. They have the same support that you do, so they should know. My t-shirt. And the student is going to put in their actions, their reactions, their reflections. And I don't have a t-shirt image, so I'm just going to insert any old image that I've got here on my computer. There we go, there's one. Let's just pretend that that is a t-shirt of me holding up my final product, and that I've put in a decent reflection for it. And then when the student is done, they post the entry. And here is their journal entry, and all of your students will be listed down here so you can see them. The difference between a journal and a blog is journal is private, so only the student and the instructor can view it. Blog is open, you have comments, and so students can comment on each other's. So if you prefer the reflections to be more open, rather use a blog than a journal. They work exactly the same way. The only difference is that with a blog, I would now be able to comment on a peer's assessment, a peer's entry, whereas only an instructor can now comment, and myself can comment on this. So it totally depends on what you're doing with that. All right, but the entry is in, so I'm going to go back to Learning Unit 1. And I get that's all done. So now I know that I'm complete and that I've done the entire activity, and I can sit back and relax knowing that I've learned a brand new skill. All right, so what's fun about this is you can also stagger them into the next unit. So for instance, if I go to Learning Unit 2 and add the new activity, which is going to be lesson 2, maybe we're going to bake bread today for this activity, for instance. Now I can release this on something that happened before. So in other words, I can say that I want the "you're all done" to be reviewed, submit. Or I could have said review it based on that journal entry. So when they put that journal entry in, this opened up. But that way, you'll see now if I go back to Chrome. So I've changed this now. So I'm just going to refresh. Now I've got a mark reviewed button, and you'll see now at the top, I have learning unit 2, but there's nothing there. However, if I review it, I can stagger it over into another content area. And now it opens up lesson 2. And now you can start your new one, and that can flow over into lesson 3, into lesson 4, into lesson 5, and so on. And so your students have gone through an activity that didn't need your input during the activity itself. You will have to obviously evaluate them afterwards, but for the activity itself, it did not need any instructor inputs. It was totally automated. All right, so that is it. It's 29 minutes past 12. I don't mind staying late. So I welcome your questions, but for anyone who needs to go, it is the time. You may go. Have a great weekend. Remember that the recording will be up later. For those of you who have some extra time and willing or want to stay and ask questions and so on, please feel free to do that now. And you can just unmute yourself or put them in the type box, whatever you need to do. All right, go for it. I've got something in the chat. Someone's just saying, thank you. You're very, very welcome. I hope you can use this. I really like doing these for those in-between times when in between tests and things. It's really nice to have just quick activities like this. They are also great for threshold concepts. So if your students have any threshold concepts that they struggle to get over, cute activities like these quite help them, to assimilate threshold concepts. All right, so any questions, please go ahead. All right, I'm going to stop the recording now just to make the video shorter for YouTube because it seems like we're not going to get that many questions, but I'm still going to be here. So go ahead and ask your questions.